Okay. So I've already pulled the chart. So 1 second here. Just want to see. All right, we're looking good. Welcome. We are going to talk about a few different events today in Astrodetective. So, how do we get rid of that? There we go. The first one we want to look at is what just happened. We're going to look at current events first for today, and then we're going to move on to some other large events that are well known in astrological form. And we're going to talk about what we can feel from looking at these charts. I haven't done Astrodetective series in a little bit. It's been a little while, so I'm excited to get back into it. So the first one we are going to look at here is what just happened. The White House Correspondent dinner, where there was a shooting. We've been watching a lot of the footage, and it all seems a little fishy. I think we all are just like, something's a little up here, okay? I think that both sides are true, okay? We've been talking about this in my Discord. As soon as it happened, I was feeling it out, and I feel the same thing you guys are feeling. It doesn't feel right. It feels like something's off. And what I'm thinking this is that it is both it's like a setup. It wasn't, they knew about it and they allowed it to happen to make a spectacle of it. And that's why it seemed like Caroline Leavitt was like super excited to talk about it and use those exact words, which we know in dark magic, in dark intentions, they will always say before they do, or say what they know as a means of egoic expression, to be like, I know more than you. I have more clearance than you, so that's kind of what it felt like from her. Okay, so let's look at this. Here we go. We got the ascendant, of course, in Scorpio. I like to look at the angles. That 14-degree Scorpio. And it's like this right here makes me think that they think it's okay, because 14 has a specific air to it. It's okay for them to do this because of what they were planning. I know Scorpio energy too well, and it doesn't like it that I know it too well. But so I can understand why the ascendant here is in Scorpio. There's a secret, right? They all knew the secret. Certain people, not all of them. They left out the people, certain people, right? The people not in the club that think they're in the club, but they're not in the club. Majority male-centered women. So they will be getting tastes of the truth of their position. There's no way to get around that when you make that type of connection, contract. So, and their marriage is a contract. And anyways, all right, let's move forward. We got Pluto in the third house. Pluto in the neighborhood here at 5 degrees. 5 degrees is a fame degree, fame being infamous, or so for good or bad. This is usually a wound here. But with square, it's square the rising. It's square the Chiron key. It's square the sun. And then we have this grand T-square here. I just call it a T-square. Everybody uses different names. But here's another 5 degree with this, another infamous, and it's in the daily life. Something's going to be shining in daily life here that everybody knows. There's a healing. 27 degrees is a billionaire degree to me. This is a lot of money. this tells me that they want a lot of money. Their healing is coming from this, and that's why they're like, this is why I need a ballroom. Then we have a 17 degrees, which is another well-known famous degree. So even if you have these in your dates, so say an event happening on the 29th, an event happening on the 28th, if you've noticed, a lot of these events that we are looking at are on these numbers too. So this proves degree theory even further, and it proves numerology. Anyways, okay. But numerology, it's really broken down. It's like you got to know esoteric binary code to understand this stuff. Okay. The moon over here at 29 degrees Leo. That makes sense. Give me what I want, or I'll allow someone to kill me. This is like the worst right here. I don't even know what to say to this. We know that 29 degrees Leo is a death degree. It is violent death of the spine as well. And this is the moon. So the moon is using compassion as a weapon here. And this is exactly what narcissism does. They cherry pick stories too. Give compassion towards this. You should care about this. When it's actually something that we all need to care about, okay. But it's about a bunker ballroom so you can still party and feel protected. Fuck off. Like, are you kidding me? Okay, Mercury at 17 degrees Aries. We know that this is another famous degree. Look at how many we got going on here. And then we got the mean sick degree here. And we got another 29 degree. We got another 5. Like, there's just so many. Okay. So this will be known for some time. 17 degrees Aries, well known for their warrior-like mind, right? Well known for pushing forward, trailblazing forward, and where and what in the 6th house. So the ambition of the ego and the mind. Now, I want to just take a moment to think about this for a second, about the ego and the heart, and how you know that you're growing internally and not growing some separate tumor. Okay. Like, either way, you feel like you're growing in both states. So when you are growing through the heart, things become simplified. It becomes so simplified that life becomes manageable and easier, and then you're able to self-sustain. The heart doesn't have to explain anything. The heart has to explain why it does what it does, but the ego, the mind, will have to find a way. So if your growth in your life and your soul is becoming complicated, it is built off of the ego. Okay. Tumors are complicated, right? You know, they're special. You know, when you grow from your heart, you're not special. You're just like everybody else. You become really simple. Your life becomes simple. And then it's like you invite happiness back in, the lightness of happiness when in that simplicity. When there's complexity, the lightness has a hard time getting in, and then it'll come in like really fast and like little cracks, and then you laugh hysterically, right? And it's like that. It's an imbalance of these frequencies and these emotions right now. So I just went on a little channeling rant, but I just wanted to talk about the difference between certain types of growth. And could we even say this is Jupiter retrograde, Jupiter direct, you know, growing inwardly or growing outwardly? When Jupiter is retrograde in a lot of charts, they have a lot of inward growth first to do, and then they expand in the outer world later in life. Because that's just what they need for their energy to grow. So, okay, let me just check over here and see if everybody's okay. If there is anybody, okay, no. I came on a little earlier than I told everybody, so, but that's okay. All right. Now, let's keep moving on through here. We got Mars at 12 degrees, really close to the mind. I do see this as it was a real threat, but however, they knew about it. So they're like, come on in. The door's wide open. They didn't know how it was going to happen, but they knew at some level that it was going to happen. Okay. Now with Venus and Gemini here, this shows me the two sides of how people want to love our country. Like, hey, we want to love the country in this way. We want a ballroom. We want this, and that. And then we have the other side, people saying we want to love the country in this way by giving healthcare and giving things that we need so we can thrive. Gemini is holding both right now. And Gemini is so easy to divide people by using talking arguments that go back and forth. It's like, and when it's in your Venus, also, if you have a Venus Gemini, you usually have at least two lovers, like strong lovers, like beginning life, later life, or you fight over two of them, or they fight over you, or whatever. There's always twins involved in the love and other things. Mars and Aries, we can just say impulsive. Jupiter, 18 degrees Cancer. In the 9th house, 18 is that sick degree, that really mean degree. Cancer is very manipulative. And the 9th house is like the house of God. It's like righteousness. It's also foreign lands and learning. And, I'm feeling a lot of, my way or the highway. I want to expand the way I want to expand. I'm not expanding for everybody else. And it turns into like kind of a really mean type of energy here. And all of this over here is square their mean growth here. The mind, Mars, Saturn, Neptune over here hanging out. And this is a call to heal the billionaire problem. Okay. So I'll check if there are any questions for this right now. We may come back to this afterwards. The moon on top of the MC and it's at a 29-degree Leo with it within 6 degrees. The heart is influencing the middle sky, and it's a very narcissistic heart. Like, I'll break everybody to get what I want type of a heart. So it's right there, like trying to push to the middle sky, but it's square you're rising. It's square who we are. It's not going to move forward if it has, see how it's kind of pulling it back in the chart here, pulling the rising back. Okay, let's look at some other things down here. I haven't even gotten to this 29-degree here, Uranus. That is all square, this MC and moon. Okay. And whenever I see a 777, there's some sort of a jackpot going on. What is this, Okay. We got a past life indicator here of moon and mind. It's almost like this tells me that this energy says, well, it's been done before. You guys did this before. If it means to protect, if, that kind of thing. It's that kind of a whiny tantrum vibe. And I would want to know if this has happened before, somebody possibly illuminating and a threat for the purposes of getting what they want. Okay, we have one here with the moon and the Mars. Ooh. So that tells me this has been tried before. Whenever you do things that are in the past, you are um, drawing to you the result, the conclusion of that past story. Um, just to let you know. Saturn and the MC here. So not that this tells me that Saturn says no. This is a no-go to a middle sky. Lessons were not learned. About money too. 8 is a very fascist number. Okay. Oh, good morning, Monique. I didn't think anybody was going to find me over here. Can you hear me okay? I'm a little early, so I've been talking on for a little while. Is it laggy or anything? I don't know. Let me know. Oh, okay. Good. All right, well, let's get back to it. Now, these are the little bender breaks here. So we have the South Node and Saturn here. So this is about to break, I would say, because of all the past life indicators we've got going on with the desires of the ego, desires of doings, not learning the lesson of the middle sky here. So misuse of power, I would say. But it's all out there. We can all see it. It's in the 10th house. And that's why we're pulling it back here. This part just reeks of Erica Kirk to me. And her assisting and using compassion as a weapon. So we can come back to this after. I want to move forward to some of these other events that I've got planned for us today. Like I really want to go into this Bhopal disaster here. Or I'm not sure how to say it right. But on December 3rd, 1984, hope you guys can see. Can you see that? Oh, not quite. Hold on. There you go. Okay, here's the chart for it. Let me just put that down. So what happened on this day? Over 500,000 people that were in the vicinity of this pesticide plant in Bhopal, India. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. So they were exposed to highly toxic gas and is considered one of the world's worst industrial disasters. So in a government affidavit in 2006 stated that the leak caused approximately 558,120 and 125 injuries, including 38,000 temporary injuries and then 3,900 severely and permanently disabling injuries. So the estimates are varying on the death toll here, but the official number of immediate deaths were like 2,200, and others estimated that 8,000 died within 2 weeks of this incident. So let's take a look at what we have going on. We got another Chiron key with 5 degrees, and we have a true node at 27 degrees. This tells, in an earth sign, it tells me this is being done for money. and need to be able to see both sides of creating like when you're building a business and an industry, you got to make sure you're incompatible with the environment. And you have to see both sides. And this was supposed to be like new technology for them to help with their plants, but it did not. It backfired, and we have a Pluto bender break with this secret here of this wound, and we have Saturn here at 21 degrees Scorpio. This also tells me, because I know who was responsible for this, and it was Warren Anderson. He is an American businessman. So it looks like a foreign land, someone, coming from a foreign land. We have point placements at the top here of I would say this is the midheaven, right on a cusp like this. Oof. In between Cap and Sag. It's like the foreign businessman had an idea, Okay. So this was the disaster. Let's look at the man who was responsible. Warren Anderson. He was born November 29th. He died September 29th. And he was like in his 90s. Wild. He lived that long. I kind of wanted to pull his death chart. Hold on a second. He's right here. I just got to look at his day of death. I know it's September 29th, but I don't know what year. 2014, and he died in Vero Beach, Florida. A little bit about him. He was born in New York to Swedish immigrants. So when the disaster took place in the plant belonging to his company, on the night of December 2nd and 3rd is when this happened. Thousands of people died, hundreds and thousands of more were injured. He flew to India and was promptly placed in custody by Indian authorities, but was allowed to return to the United States. He was declared a fugitive from the justice by Chief Judicial Magistrate Gulab Sharma of Bhopal on February 1st, 1992. We might want to look at that date too. Hold on. For failing to appear at court hearings in a culpable homicide case. So there was a formal extradition request in 2003. The United States declined to extradite him, citing lack of evidence. The Chief Judicial Magistrate of Bhopal issued an arrest warrant for Anderson on July 31st, 2009. In August of 2009, like, this is how we act with other countries. Just going to point this out. They don't even take accountability for the disasters they're doing over there on other people. So, okay, so let's look at his death chart. I said 2014, right? I think I did. Yep. All right, let's look at his chart with transits for that day. Okay, so this is a death chart. Typical, having outer planets on top of outer planets, Chiron key having Uranus, and nodals on top of each other. That is also a typical death chart. We We have Mars on a luminary. That's also a death transit. Any Mars on a luminaries or angles. And even like cusps things is also a big thing with the death. So, okay. Oh my God, no, my Pookie. What was that? Okay. Have to take care of that later. You know what you did. Okay. But here's his death chart. Let's look if there's any death degrees here. Takes me a minute. I thought I had it all pulled up, but I've got a gazillion tabs going on, apparently. Okay. There's a death here. Don't mind all the weird ads. Jesus. Okay. So the sun we have at 6 degrees Sag, 8 degrees Sag. So we're going to look at those. Nope. Malefics, 14 degrees Libra, Saturn, 5 degrees Libra. Oh. He's conjunct the Saturn. But he lived to be 92. This man did. After what he'd done, too. It's like the worse you do, apparently, the longer you live in this world. It's like, what? How does that make sense? We also have Saturn on Venus here in Scorpio. Scorpio Venuses probably hated women as a man. Scorpio Venuses. All right, Chiron, that Aries at 9. Aries is usually at the top. No. Yeah, it's like he was allowed to stay alive, I guess. This is bullshit. But he also died and was born on a 29 degree. So it's like they tried to do these projects that are going to make them a lot of money, and then they don't put the people in consideration. They don't put the earth in consideration. And I see this a lot with Sagittariuses. And he's got both the luminaries really close. They're conjunct. They don't consider it. They're not considerate of others. They only think of themselves. And this is a normal thing with fire signs, and they're not committed. Like they're just committed to themselves. It seems like too. Look at the sun was transiting. Look. These transits. I would want to look at his progressions too. I bet I could find them. You watch anybody long enough, you can figure out who they are. All right, so that was his chart. Let's look at Fukushima's chart. Now, if you guys don't remember Fukushima, It was one of the largest nuclear accidents on March 11th, 2011, at Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Japan. And the cause was the earthquake and tsunami that, resulted in a grid failure and then damaged like all the power plant's backup energy sources. So it wasn't able to cool the reactors after shutdown, compromised containment, and resulted in a release of radioactive contaminants to the surrounding environment. And they say that this is worse than the Chernobyl disaster. And it could be still leaking, by the way. Okay. Here we go. We don't need transits for that guy's death on here. Let's go back to the top here. All right, here's Fukushima. Notice the Pisces, notice the water. All the elements are sitting there, and it is leaking into the ocean. We have a 28 degree that's really close to Algol, on Algol. I think it's 26 degrees. Taurus is Algol. Hold on. Oh, wait, they don't put, it's not one of the fixed stars. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay, there it is. One of the main fixed stars, sorry. Okay. This right here, the victim, and well known, and it's close to Algol. Then we have another 28 degree here, and this is why this whole incident is well known. We have the moon and the lunar nodes all in the same degree. Bend or break, you will not move into the future, and then we have a bend or break here with learning lessons and justice. So Saturn and Libra, especially retrograde, like that does not mess around. You will have a run-in with justice. Like you will have you're a victim or the perpetrator, and you may be defending your position. When you have Saturn and Libra, justice is needed for some sort of harmony. And there's a bend and break with the doings in Pisces, in the dream. It makes me feel like, what if we woke up and they were like, oh, we just let you guys all fuck up in the in between and to show you not to do that. And this is the real world, and it's pristine, and we didn't let you touch it. Like, if I knew that, that would be nice. But then we also just realized, Micah was talking about a mold. A mold was discovered in Chernobyl that is eating the radiation. And I was like, what? That's the coolest thing I've ever heard. So this Uranus is right on top of, I would assume is this angle, right on the rising with the mind. It's almost like they knew this could happen if there was a tsunami and an earthquake and it would be critical. They knew it was a possibility. We also up in New York, up in Saratoga Springs, there's a fault line. We have a nuclear power plant right there too. That's where there's another school up there. I'm wearing this is so weird. I'm wearing a nuclear hoodie today too. Strange coincidence. Okay. Neptune at 29 degrees Aquarius. This is like, Neptune saying, don't you guys want the age of Aquarius? This is a critical lesson for the community and the dream. What are you doing? It's your last chance, Okay. For a lot of these, I'm seeing Jupiter in Aries. A lot of things are in Aries with mistakes because it is the impulsive, new, having an idea but don't really have a plan, like kind of energy. Um, okay. You want to see how can you tell the timing for a yacht in the chart? Okay, well, it's when it gets activated by a transiting planet usually, and it depends on the activating transit. Like right now, Melania is having a Uranus activate her yod. And it could mean different things at different points of your life. Like her yod could have been activated too when she met Jeffrey Epstein and stuff. And then her yod is now activated again, getting her movie and, seeing the real response from the community. Gigi, stop. No. Oh, you saw my Patreon? Okay, cool. Good. I didn't know if anybody saw it because nobody came over, but that's okay. Some of you came over. It's hard to have all of these social medias too and try to build each one up. It's a pain in the butt, and you'll notice that when you try to do it or do it in the future. Okay, you want to see the death degree of 5 degrees Pisces. It's conjunct death penalty. And it's like the nerves of the right foot. So this is the masculine too. So it's the neural pathways of where the masculine is going to me. Death penalty. Okay. Shows. I like to look and see how it looks this way, but okay. Oh. I was like, where did my tab go? There it is. All right. Let's go to the next one. We've got a few other ones I want to look at. Everything's so laggy right now. All right, next one, China floods. Now, the China floods, I'll talk about those a little bit as we look at this chart. All right, hold on. So, the 1931 China floods. This is one of the most tragic disasters ever to hit the earth. And you'll look it up. It is it's the number one disaster, I believe, because of the death toll. Okay. So I wanted to read a little bit about it real quick. Okay. So the 1931 China floods, or they call them the 1931 Yangtze Huai River floods, was a devastating flood that occurred from June to August 1931 in China, hitting major cities such as Wuhan, Beijing, and beyond, and eventually culminating in a dike breach along Lake Gaoyu on August 25th, 1931. Fatalities estimated vary widely. A field survey done by University of Nanking immediately found that the flood, there was 150,000 people who had drowned, and this number represented less than a quarter of all of the fatalities during the first 100 days of the flood. So the official report found 140,000 drowned and claims that 2 million people died during the flood, having drowned, died from lack of food, and then there was a chlorella epidemic the next year. So from 1928 to 1931, China was afflicted by a long drought. The subsequent subsequent winter of 1930 to 1931 was harsh, creating large deposits of snow and ice in the mountainous areas, and then the melting of the snow in the downstream arrived in the middle course during the period of a heavy spring rain. So you can see how it kind of amplified everything. So there was floodings, there was high waters during spring, summer, autumn, respectively. However, in early 1931, there was a single continuous deluge. So by June, those living in like the low areas have already been forced to abandon their homes. The summer was also characterized by an extreme cyclone activity. So in July of that year alone, 9 cyclones hit the region. So the flood is featured on the list of disasters by the China, by the death toll, and it is the top of the list of the world's deadliest disasters. At the time, the government estimated that 25 million people have been affected by the flood. Historians since have suggested that the true number may have been as many as 53 million. Estimated death tolls also vary widely, very differently from country to country. So, but it just caused so much damage. And then with the pandemic afterwards. Okay, so let's look at this. Here we go. So we got Saturn retrograde at like the hearth of the home here. We want to look at the earth and the water. We got Chiron key in Taurus. Close to Algol. It's like Algol is always there when there's a lot of deaths. Surprise her. Up at the middle sky, we have Venus and Pluto, and Jupiter and the Sun. I find this interesting, but Jupiter seems to always be in some sort of a fire sign, and Uranus seems to be in a fire sign, either on an angle or an anaretic degree during these events. The doing is in an Earth key. Like there's this nice little Earth trine here with Saturn, Mars, and Chiron key. The Chiron key is breaker bend with the rising. So that's something to take note of when looking at other charts. Because I feel like I may have seen this more than once, but just like a different. All right. The wound, like this is I don't know if it could have been prevented. It feels like maybe it was caused by like what caused that drought, and the lack of preparedness for what was coming. And that could definitely be this Uranus retrograde in Aries here. And then the true node in Aries, this is like do something to fix this. The moon is square in the expression. It's like the type of tragedy that causes that silence. We always have some 12th house stuff going on when something comes out of nowhere. I feel like there was enough, like there wasn't, I don't know, there was a lot of flooding prior too. Maybe some people couldn't leave their homes. Okay, so that is the worst. So I would take note of also if you have any placements, like with Pluto at the top here, Saturn at the bottom, the signs, looking even at the flavors of the angles here with the rising is it. This tells me it's balancing, what happened. It was balancing the earth. There was a drought and it gave more water. It's like, is that what the earth was? Oh, there's not enough water here and they put too much. I don't know. There was a balance. This is the rising. See how the identity of the event was secret. They needed to look for resources in foreign places to travel. There was huge movements of people because of resources. This expression house of the heart, needing assistance probably at that time. This was just like a mean lesson from the earth, right? In your neighborhood with Saturn sitting there. Uranus, sudden change up in your routines, in your health, because then the pandemic came, or epidemic, sorry, the following year. Look at this. Chiron key to innocent earth sign, heal the earth, heal your reach outward. This just tells me too, there's a balance needed, balance needed on who you are and how you reach out to the world. Okay. 4 angels are here for the dream, the community. That's what I take that as soon as I see it. A Leo Mercury at 27 degrees. It's almost like whatever caused the drought has something to do with this. Money, ego, probably. I don't know what things were like in China in the 30s. We'd have to look it up, but I'm sure they probably weren't thinking of the repercussions of whatever they did with this drought, is my take on that. Okay. So far, let me look and see if we got any questions. Hi. Hey, it's harder to do things over here, right? I hope you were able to see it all when I was, looking at this. So far we've looked at the Correspondent dinner, the Bhopal disaster in India, a major industrial tragedy. We looked at the person who caused it. We looked at Fukushima. We looked at the 1931 China floods, which was the worst disaster in history up to this point. We're going to look at 3 Mile Island just because there's a little documentary you can watch on it too. I'm wearing my nuclear hoodie today. Sometimes when I look at these things, it is kind of a way of foresight of possible events coming. And so to keep that in mind when we're looking at charts and the charts that I choose to look at. Okay. So next, 3 Mile Island. I want to look at that chart. That was the only one I didn't have ready, but let's go and get it done. Show you guys how I do it. I talked a little bit earlier about the growth of the ego and the growth of the heart and how you know the difference. And because growth kind of feels the same. When you're growing like a tumor or a cyst, you think you're growing, but it's something else growing. And then when I was talking about Jupiter and Jupiter retrograde being inner expansion, and then direct Jupiter being outer expansion. And that's why people who have Jupiter retrograde in their chart, they have to inwardly expand first, then they expand later in life. And that's if they choose to. So Jupiter retrograde people don't necessarily have to. Some of them don't. But just to give you kind of an idea of that. And when I spoke about it, the ego, when it grows, it gets complicated. There's a lot of lines, there's a lot of things going on, and the lightness of frequency that comes in of happiness and joy is like kind of sporadic. It like comes in through the cracks and you like explode in laughter a lot, But when there isn't all those lines, and your heart has taken over and everything's become simplified and manageable and self-sustaining, the lightness of joy is just readily there at all times. There's nothing it needs to seep through. So when true growth happens of the heart, life gets simple. You're not special anymore either. You're just like everybody else, and you love to be just like everybody else. You want to be. You don't want to be special. So knowing when the ego is growing, things get complex, things get harder. You're walking on eggshells. Can't step there. There's glass. Shoot. Like, what do I do next? Well, and it doesn't have explanations. It explains constantly. The heart doesn't have it to explain its doings at all. People just know. So I think it's important to pay attention to the growth. Has anybody watched the 3 Mile Island documentary? I have. I got a documentary addiction. This is not coming up. It's its own place, so maybe I need to find a different. Okay, so 3 Mile Island accident was a partial nuclear meltdown of Unit 2 reactor. 3 Mile Island Nuclear Generating Station located in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Okay, so we want to go there. But real quick, let me tell you a little bit about it. It began at 4 a.m. Ooh, so we're going to put that time in. It began at 4 a.m. Just so I can spell that right. Oh, okay. Now, so it began at 4 a.m. and it started to release radioactive gases and radioactive iodine into the environment. It was the worst accident in U.S. commercial nuclear power plant history. Although it's small, radioactive releases had no detectable health effects on plant workers or the public. I would watch the documentary because I don't think that's necessarily true. The accident was the largest release of radioactive material in U.S. history, and it was exceeded by Church Rock uranium mill spill 4 months later on a 7-point reactor accident. Okay. All right. So I'm sure if I brought Micah into all of this, she would be tell us more about nuclear stuff because that's her gig, but just I was never pro-nuclear because, and I would tell her right to her face. I was like, you don't give a kid a Sharpie and not know how to clean it up. Now we know how to clean it up, right? We know how to clean Sharpie off the walls. But before that, we didn't give kids Sharpies because we knew there was lasting damage. That was my little metaphor to use. But now we know that that the earth provides mold that eats radioactive material. Interesting. Right? No, Gigi, no. Okay, here it is. 4 a.m. Now this, we get a little bit more information here. Look, more Aries. Oh my God. With Aries energy, I just get the whole vibe of, it's just grow up, grow the fuck up, grow up. whenever I see Aries energy. And I do it to myself with, so I have a Jupiter Aries. It's like, Caleb, come on in, grow. So whenever I see Aries energy, it's like me shaking myself. Come on. But we've got Sun in Aries. We got both luminaries in Aries with a Mercury at 0 degrees. And this accident could have been worse if they didn't act the way they did. We also have a 29 degrees Venus here in the first house. And it is in a bender break with Jupiter at 29 degrees in Cancer. We got another Chiron key in Taurus. So this is another famous degree here with the nodals. 17. Ascendant is at 17. And then we got Jupiter at 29 degrees here. What are you chewing on? Oh my God. These dogs are worse than the kids. Like, what are you chewing on? Hold on. I gotta make sure she's not eating plastic. What are you doing? No. Go lay down. She was chewing on plastic. I'm glad I grabbed that. Next. All right, we got a past life indicator here with the Sun and Uranus. I want to see. It wouldn't be nuclear. It'd be a different type of accident, obviously, in Pennsylvania. Wasn't there a lot of mines and stuff? I would have to look and see what other type of accidents happened in the past in Pennsylvania that were kind of like a industrial type of accident. So I would go to like mine and resource mining and such, or even train accident. I don't know why that came pretty quick. Neptune, we have a past life indicator here with the Chiron key. Okay. We got another Pluto at 18 degrees Libra. And another, like a jackpot thing. And by the way, that plant is still active. Okay. A little bit more. So the accident began with failures with the valve system. Maintenance is so important. And, you know, Micah even said that's what they mainly do is just maintenance constantly on these machines to make sure they're operating properly and that's what we need to do with our own bodies and our own systems in the United States. Like maintenance, don't not listen to yourself. Don't not listen to your body. All right, I think that's all I want to talk about with this chart. I don't know. I mean, we have this huge stellium here. And Mars at 22 degrees. Kill or be killed. A well-known accident. Like, this makes me think that this is a repeat of something in the past. So I'd have to look and check that out. And it was well known. Because it's like at 17 degrees and we got another 27. You know, I think we would solve a lot of problems if we took money out of politics and money out of things, because I'm seeing a lot of money issues. Okay, so we have looked at quite a bit. I have one more I wanted to check, and then I was going to go back to the White House correspondent chart and possibly look at some other admin charts. So one more, we're going to look at the Haiwen earthquake in 1920. How is everyone doing? I hope you're, kind of with me on this and focusing more on like creating and what you want to make. And like, I've got this like weird urge to just paint and create. And it's like, of course, it's a time when I have none of my stuff. So it's like, makes me mad. Ah. But I was wondering if you guys were all feeling the creative energy, because it's pretty strong right now. And like with what's happening with this awful stuff, it feels farther and farther away, or it feels like they've dropped a veil that we can't see, which is probably accurate because we're not getting the information like we used to. We can't, like, I don't know what's going on in Minneapolis, but it feels like it's still going on. It feels like people are still fighting for their lives over there. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Get rid of this. Judah, Judah. All right. Next one. And then if you guys have any requests afterwards, let me know. I don't know what time it started. That's it. Okay. So let me read about this for a second. So we have an idea. Now, this was in the 1920s. Do you guys like to see the Wikipedia page? Here, I'll do that. I don't know if you guys like to look at it or not. But this was the earthquake. It was a 7.9 on the Richter scale. Over 73,000 people were killed. A landslide buried a whole village. More than 30,000 people were killed in one county. Nearly all houses collapsed in these cities. So see this little story here? His son died in the earthquake when the roof of the mosque they were in collapsed. Some first responders to the worst hit towns were soldiers from the Chinese military garrison commanded by Liu Hongtao at nearby Pingling, who arrived within days bringing in tents and relief goods. Okay. Muslim general? A Chinese Muslim scholar. You don't see that every day in the 1920s. Man. All right. let's take a look at this. I think I want to keep it in Placitas this time. Okay, here's the earthquake. Of course, Uranus over here, the 12th house. It's like there's always an outer planet with like earthquakes, volcanoes, things that like come out of nowhere. Jupiter is sometimes in the 12th house. Or, you know, Uranus is on the ascendant, on an angle, or in the 12th house. So makes me think of people who have those placements and, you know, what comes out of nowhere for them. We have another, well, a Chiron key that is bender break with a true node in Scorpio, but it's another Chiron key in Aries, retrograde. Look how it's like Venus and Jupiter here. It's growing. It's sesquiquadrate each other, the Earth and expansion, and it's an earthquake. So it's like she just did a little shimmy. I'm kidding. Okay, Jupiter's quincunx Pluto. That's another one. And Jupiter and Saturn are conjunct here, which will cause that, you know, expansion, learning, and processing. A lot of these, you know, events that happen are part of our growth and balancing of the Earth. Unfortunately, the natural disaster ones. It's like, this is her home. So, all right. Hey, I'm here. You're fine. But we were just going through charts right now, and we went through Correspondent dinner. We went through the Bhopal disaster, the China floods, the Hawaiian earthquake we just looked at, the 3 Mile Island, Fukushima. Just going through and just seeing the charts is going to help you determine stuff for yourself too. Looking at it as a structural event energy, and looking at the outer planets, because the outer planets and these macro events are like connected, like in a way. And it shows you what these large planets can mean on a macro level. I can't believe these dogs listened to me after I said, go lay down and be quiet. But anyways, so we went through all the ones I've decided to look at today. I wanted to look at these because I am sensing some sort of an accident coming. So I wanted to look at what past charts look like with that. It does seem to be possibly nuclear. But yeah. All right. Okay. You guys can see me a little bit better here. And then we talked a little bit about growth, the difference between growth with the ego and growth of the heart, and how it becomes very complex when it is growth of the ego, and it's very simple when it's the growth of the heart. Okay. Do you guys want to talk about anything else that's going on in current events? I went to Wawa this morning. Wawa is a culture here in New Jersey, and I'm just getting introduced to it. So, oh yeah, for Monique, I wouldn't even think about time When I don't like thinking about time when I'm reading energy. It's just time is a distraction. I don't know how many mystics say that. All of them. Time is a distraction. I don't know what time it is. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what other charts you guys want to look at then. Who are you sensing? Who's going to go? Bye-bye. Who's going next? Who do you think? It's like, isn't Melania going next? Because she's like, I didn't sign up for this shit. You think it's Wiles? Yeah, but probably because she's sick. But if Wiles goes, I feel like Stephen Miller is going to take that spot, and it's freaking me out. And so I don't want to think about it. All right. Well, I've been going for about an hour, and like I said, on YouTube, I don't get that much traction. I don't understand. But when I do these type of charts over on YouTube, which I can go over and do right now, I'll do the same charts, and I'll show you guys how much more traction I get over there. She's sick and responsible for secrets. Yeah, don't want them there. Yeah. So I'm going to end it here, and I'm going to do it over on TikTok too. So I will see you guys over there if you want to go over there. If not, you can watch this replay. I'll see you guys soon.